You're listening to the Top One English Plus podcast.
It is Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. And if you're just, glancing at your calendar or your phone lock screen, it probably looks like a totally standard midweek slump.
Just another Wednesday.
Exactly. You're thinking about emails, you're thinking about what to make for dinner. But if you zoom out just a little bit, we are standing on a very expensive, very snowy precipice.
A snowy precipice.
We are exactly 48 hours away from the lighting of the cauldron.
Yeah.
The opening ceremony of the XXV Olympic Winter Games is Friday night.
It really feels like we've been talking about the road to Milano-Cortina since the dawn of time, doesn't it? It's been this abstract concept on the horizon for so long.
For years.
But suddenly the road has run out. We're actually here. The athletes are in the village. Well, I should say the villages, plural, and the ice is frozen.
That word here is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
It really is.
Because usually when we sit down to do a deep dive on an Olympic Games, we are looking at a singular city. We did Beijing, we did Sochi, we did Vancouver.
Dots on a map.
They're dots on a map. But this is Milano-Cortina. And I was looking at the logistics map this morning with my coffee, trying to wrap my head around the travel, and I realized these two places are not friends.
Hey, not at all.
Geographically speaking, they aren't even acquaintances.
They really aren't. And that is the massive experiment, and I don't use that word lightly, that we are witnessing kick off this week. This is the first time in Olympic history that two cities have officially co-hosted the Games.
And we're not talking about a city and its nearby mountain suburb, right? Like Vancouver and Whistler, where you just hop on a highway for an hour or so?
No, not even close. We are talking about Milan, the fashion and finance capital, flat as a pancake on the Lombardy Plains, and Cortina d'Ampezzo, a historic, almost storybook alpine village deep in the Dolomites.
And they are. What's the official distance?
They are roughly 250 miles apart.
250 miles.
Yeah.
Okay, to put that in perspective for our American listeners, that's kind of like hosting the Games in New York City and having the skiing in Washington, D.C.
But with a mountain range in between.
With a massive mountain range in the middle. That is a 5-hour drive on a good day.
And knowing Italian traffic, and I say this with a lot of love, having spent plenty of time on the autostrada, it is rarely a good day.
Rarely a good day.
Precisely. And that geographic spread is the big picture hook for this entire event. I mean, the Games are covering 22,000 square kilometers.
22,000. That's a huge area.
It's a whole region. Lombardy, Veneto, and the autonomous provinces of Trento and Bolzano, the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, they call this decentralization. It's a very deliberate pivot.
A pivot from what, though?
From the gigantism of the past. I mean, think about the old model, right? You bid for the Games, you win, and then you build a massive singular Olympic park.
Right. You build 6 new stadiums in a perfect circle. Looks great on TV for 2 weeks.
And then it turns into a ghost town 6 months later because nobody in the suburbs needs a 15,000-seat curling arena.
The classic white elephant.
This new model is all about spreading the Games over an entire region, forcing the event to fit into the existing landscape, rather than bulldozing the landscape to fit the event.
Which sounds incredibly noble on paper. It
Right.
sounds sustainable, sensible, modern. Use what you have.
It does.
But we have a stack of sources here. Articles from the local Italian press, official IOC reports, logistics guides, and the reality seems a lot messier than the theory.
Oh, for sure.
The decentralized model seems to come with some very centralized headaches.
Well, it changes the flavor of the Olympic entirely. I mean, usually you have that Olympic village energy.
Yeah, the melting pot.
A melting pot where the figure skater bumps into the bobsledder in the cafeteria and they trade pins.
Right.
Here, it's fragmented. The ice hockey players are eating risotto in Milan, and the downhill skiers are eating polenta in the mountains 5 hours away.
They might as well be in different countries.
They essentially won't see each other until the closing ceremony. It completely fractures that communal experience.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out if this fracture is fatal or if it's the future. We need to look at the brand new sports debuting this week. And there are some that genuinely look like torture, which I am very excited to discuss.
Oh, yeah.
We need to analyze the controversies that have been dogging these games right up until this morning, specifically regarding a certain sliding track that cost enough to fund a small country.
The one that will live in infamy.
And we're going to look at the vibe, because the official motto is literally, it's your vibe.
It is. And that capitalization of IT is doing a tremendous amount of work, which we should probably get into right away.
Absolutely. So let's start there, the identity. When you have an event spread over 22,000 kilometers, the branding has to work overtime to glue it all together.
It's the connective tissue.
Exactly. You can't just rely on the city atmosphere. The sources describe the visual theme as vibes, which was created by Raffaele Pagnier. And looking at the assets, it's not the usual rigid athletic geometry we see at the Olympics. It feels, I don't know, sketchier.
Gestural is the specific word they use in the design briefs.
This is gestural, okay.
The whole concept focuses on the human gesture. So think of an artist's pencil stroke or the curve of a skier carving a turn in deep powder. It's meant to feel organic, human, not engineered by a computer. And that feeds directly into the emblem, the logo. You remember the vote on this back in 2021?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
They actually put it to a public vote, which always feels like a risky move in the internet age.
A very brave choice.
I always think of Bodie McBoatface when the public gets involved in naming things. But they offered a choice between a design called Dado,
which was like a dice block, very geometric,
and the winner, which was Futura.
And Futura won in a landslide. I think it was 75% of the 871,000 votes.
Wow.
And the design is fascinating. It's a stylized number 26, but it isn't bold or blocky at all. It's drawn in this single continuous line, silver and white, as if someone traced it with their finger on a foggy window.
I actually love that imagery. It evokes such a specific memory for anyone who lives in a cold climate. You're on a bus or looking out a kitchen window in January. The glass is cold and fogged up, and you just trace a line. It's so ephemeral. It disappears in a few minutes.
And that's the whole point. It represents sustainability, the idea that the game shouldn't leave this heavy, permanent scar on the landscape, but rather a temporary human impression.
A light touch.
A light touch. It's a beautiful concept, very poetic, very Italian. It signals that they are, at least in theory, aware of the environmental cost of these events and are trying to tread lightly.
And then we have the motto. It's your vibe. Now, you have to explain the grammar here, because at first glance, it looks like a typo or a broken caps lock key.
It's a clever bit of modular wordplay. The capitalized IT stands for Italy, the ISO country code.
Okay.
But it also functions as the English contraction. The idea is modularity. So you can swap out the noun depending on where you are.
So Italy is your vibe, or it is your vibe.
Exactly. It's designed to be adaptable. If you're at the stadium in Milan, the vibe is energy. If you're in the mountains in Cortina, the vibe is nature. It allows the brand to shapeshift depending on which of the two cities or which mountain valley you happen to be standing in.
It feels a little marketing heavy, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But I get the utility. It ties the disparate locations together under one linguistic umbrella.
That's a neat trick.
But let's talk about the real stars of the branding, the mascots.
Yeah.
We have Tina and Milo.
Yes.
And I have to clarify for the listeners, because I made this mistake initially. These are not ferrets.
They are stoats. Or ermines, if you want to be precise about the white winter coat.
They look a lot like ferrets to the uninitiated, but let's respect the taxonomy. Why stoats?
Well, for one, they are native to the Italian Alps. They turn white in the winter, which is very on brand. But the backstory of the design is actually great. They were designed by students from a school in Verona, Calabria.
Calabria. That's way down in the south of Italy, isn't it? The toe of the boot.
The absolute toe of the boot. And that's a lovely detail because the games are all in the wealthy industrial north.
Right.
By choosing a design from the south, they're making this symbolic gesture of trying to stitch the country together politically and culturally.
That is a very smart move.
Yeah.
Italy often has that intense north-south divide.
Yeah.
So bridging it with a cartoon stoat is actually kind of deep.
It really is. So you have Tina, the light-coated one.
Tina.
Tina is the Olympic mascot. Her name is a diminutive of Cortina.
Makes sense.
She's described as creative, down-to-earth, loves art and music. Her motto is dream big. She represents that mountain aesthetic nature, purity, the alpine village life.
And then her brother Milo.
Milo, short for Milano, of course, is the Paralympic mascot.
And he has a brand coat.
Right, because stoats change color with the seasons. But here's where the design gets genuinely inclusive and I think breaks some new ground. Milo was designed as being born without a paw.
I noticed that in the illustrations. He walks using his tail for balance. Is that right?
He does, and his motto is, obstacles are trampolines.
I love that.
It's not just a cute character. It's a direct representation of adaptation and resilience. Usually, a Paralympic mascot is just the regular mascot with a different T-shirt or maybe a prosthetic added on later as an afterthought.
Right, a minor change.
But to have a disability represented physically in the core anatomy of the character from the initial sketch is a very thoughtful, very powerful design choice. It normalizes difference right from the start.
It's a strong message.
Yeah.
And I assume they have backup dancers. Every mascot needs a crew.
They do. The flow. 6 little snowdrop flower characters.
The flow.
Yeah, they're basically the entourage. They represent the small details, the beauty of the landscape. But Tina and Milo are the ones you're going to see plush versions of in every airport duty-free shop for the next month.
Okay, so we have the Foggy Window logo, the inclusive Stoat mascots, and the decentralized map. But let's get into the nuts and bolts, the logistics, because this is where the experiment faces its biggest test.
This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Or the ski meets the snow.
You mentioned earlier the Agenda 2020 approach from the IOC. This is the governing philosophy behind everything this year, right?
It is. It's the reason these games look the way they do. For years, the Olympics had this massive reputation problem.
The cost overruns, the waste.
Exactly. Cities would spend billions building these massive stadiums, white elephants that would sit empty and rotting 5 years later. Athens is a graveyard of stadiums. Rio struggled. Even Sochi.
It got to a point where cities didn't want to host anymore.
Nobody wanted it. It was too expensive, too wasteful. So Agenda 2020 was the big pivot. Use what you have. Don't build new if you don't have to.
And looking at the venue list for Milano-Cortina, they really committed to that. The data says 90% of the venues are existing or temporary.
90%.
That is a staggering number compared to previous games.
It's a total paradigm shift. And that dictates the geography. They had to go where the facilities already were. That's why we have these confusing clusters. It wasn't about where is the best place to build an Olympic park. It was where is there already a hockey rink? Where is there already a ski jump?
Well, let's break those clusters down, because if you're trying to follow the games on TV this weekend, it's going to be disjointed.
For sure.
Cluster 1 is Milan, the big city. What's happening there?
Milan is the ice hub. If it's played on a flat sheet of ice indoors, it's mostly here.
Okay.
So ice hockey is at the new Milano-Cortina Arena and the temporary Milano Ice Park. Figure skating and short track are at the Mediolanum Forum, and crucially, the opening ceremony is at San Siro.
San Siro is legendary. That's a football cathedral. AC Milan, Inter Milan play there. It holds over 75,000 people.
It's massive.
Doing a Winter Olympics opening in a stadium that size is unusual, isn't it? Usually it's a smaller athletic stadium or an indoor arena.
It's going to be on a Super Bowl-esque scale. The spectacle will be huge. And then, just to maximize the contrast, you have the closing ceremony all the way over in Verona at the Roman Arena.
An actual ancient Roman amphitheater.
Where they used to host gladiators, yeah. You go from modern concrete football brutalism to ancient stone ruins. It's very cinematic.
Very Italian. Okay, then we have Cortina.
The historic heart. Cortina hosted the 1956 Winter Games, so it has that legacy.
Right.
This is where the women's alpine skiing will be, on the Tofane slopes, which are absolutely terrifyingly steep, beautiful runs. Curling is there in the old 1956 stadium, which has been refurbished. And, of course, the sliding sports. Bobsled, luge, skeleton.
Okay, we are definitely circling back to the sliding sports in a minute, because that's a very spicy topic.
Oh, it's the spiciest.
But let's finish the map. Valtellina, where's that?
This is further north and west. The towns are Bormio and Livigno. Bormio has the men's alpine skiing. The Stelvio Piste is one of the hardest, iciest runs in the entire world. It's a total thigh burner. If you crash there, you slide for a mile.
Sounds fun.
And Livigno is a freestyle hub snowboarding, freestyle skiing. That's where you'll see the half pipes and the big air jumps. It's a younger, more modern vibe there.
And the last one, Val di Fiemme.
That's all your Nordic sports. Ski jumping and cross country. These are traditional, existing venues that just needed some polish. It's in the Trentino region, very scenic, lots of wood construction, very classic winter feel.
So on paper, it looks like a brilliant reuse of assets.
Mm-hmm.
Sustainable, smart.
It does.
But there is one venue that sticks out like a massive 100 million euro sore thumb. The Cortina Sliding Center. The Eugenio Monti track.
Yes.
This has been the headache of the century for the organizers, hasn't it?
The controversy that nearly derailed the budget and the government.
So walk me through this, because the IOC's whole Agenda 2020 thing is don't build it if you don't need it.
Explicitly.
And yet here we are with a brand new, incredibly expensive track.
The IOC looked at the plans years ago and said, look, you have a perfectly good track in Innsbruck, Austria, just across the border, or St. Moritz in Switzerland.
Which are not far.
Not at all. They said, use those. Do not spend millions building a track that you probably won't use enough after the games to justify the cost. They were practically begging Italy not to build it.
That seems incredibly logical. Why didn't they listen?
National pride. plain and simple. The Italian government, and specifically the regional governments of Veneto, said no. They insisted that an Italian Olympics must have the sliding races on Italian soil. They viewed it as a humiliation to outsource a premier event to Austria.
They wanted to rebuild the historic 1956 track.
As a monument to heritage, yes.
And the price tag. Because I've seen some absolutely wild numbers thrown around.
It's a case of astronomical ballooning. The initial estimates were around $14 million for a simple refurbishment, a light touch.
Okay, $14 million, not cheap, but for an Olympic venue.
Manageable.
Yeah.
But by the time reality set in and they realized the old track was completely unusable and unsafe, the estimates were over $81 million, with some independent sources putting the total cost, with everything included, closer to $100 million.
Wait. Going from 14 to 100 million isn't an overrun? That's a completely different project. That's not just bad math, that's something else.
It's a catastrophe of budgeting, and it's not just the money, it's the environment.
Right.
To build this new track, they had to cut down 20,000 square meters of larch forest.
Oh, wow.
So in an era where sustainability is your logo, remember the foggy window and the light touch? Cutting down a forest to build a concrete chute that the IOC begged you not to build is a difficult optic.
To say the least. It handed ammunition to every single critic of the games.
On a silver platter.
And was it even ready? The notes mentioned testing began in March 2025, but there were serious doubts until the very end.
It went right down to the wire. They barely got it certified. There was a genuinely humiliating moment where Lake Placid, New York,
Lake Placid, the U.S.
across the Atlantic Ocean, yes. It was officially designated the backup plan.
You're kidding. So if the concrete didn't cure in time or the safety certification failed, they were going to tell the bobsledders, pack your bags, we're flying to upstate New York.
That was the official contingency. Imagine the logistical nightmare. Welcome to the Italian Olympics. Your event is in the Adirondacks.
It would have been an absolute disaster, a global embarrassment.
That's a total disaster. But as of today, Wednesday the 4th, the track is operational. The ice is smooth. Whether it was worth the money and the trees is a debate that will continue long after the flame goes out.
It really seems like there's a recurring theme of just-in-time delivery here. The Milano-Santa Giulia Arena for hockey also faced delays and rising costs, didn't it?
It did. The original cost was $180 million, but then they needed an extra $70 to $90 million to cover rising material and energy costs. It's the classic Olympic story, unfortunately. Construction delays, cost overruns.
And we have to mention, at least briefly, the legal shadow that's been hanging over this.
The investigations, yes.
The clean hand style probes.
Yeah.
Italy has a history with these.
Yes. In May of 2024, there were raids on the Fondazione Milano-Cortina offices regarding sponsor selection and potential bid rigging. Then, in July of 2025, 74 individuals were identified in a separate investigation regarding the Olympic Village tender.
So this isn't a small thing.
No. It brings up uncomfortable memories of Italian politics of the past. It's a reminder that when that much public money is moving around for big infrastructure projects, investigators tend to get very interested.
But, as the organizers would say, the venues are built, the athletes are here, and the show must go on.
The show must go on.
And speaking of the show, let's pivot to what we're actually going to see on the snow and ice. Because for the listener out there who maybe only tunes into the Olympics every 4 years, there is some brand new stuff this year.
There is, and one of them is a sport that I think perfectly captures the current zeitgeist of outdoor fitness, ski mountaineering, or skimo.
Okay, I have seen videos of this on Instagram. It looks absolutely exhausting.
Yeah.
Explain skimo to someone who has only ever taken a chairlift up a mountain and complained that the safety bar was cold.
Well, the easiest way to explain it is to imagine taking the chairlift completely out of the equation. That's skimo. It's effectively racing uphill on skis and then racing back down.
Uphill on skis.
Yeah.
But gravity, how does that work?
You use something called skins. They're these adhesive strips of fabric. Historically, they were made from seal skin, hence the name, but now they're all synthetic nylon or mohair.
Right.
And you stick them to the bottom of your skis. The fibers are directional, so they glide forward, but they grip like Velcro when you try to slide back. So you can literally walk up a steep, snowy slope without sliding backwards.
Okay, I'm with you so far. And then
Then you reach a transition point at the top. This is the chaotic part. You have to rip the skins off your skis while your heart is beating at 180 beats per minute because you just sprinted up a mountain. Shove them in your suit, lock your boots and bindings into downhill mode, and then ski down a technical off-piste course.
And it's not always just skiing, right?
Not at all. Sometimes there are sections where it's so steep you have to take the skis off entirely, strap them to your backpack, and boot pack up a rocky couloir with crampons on.
So it's a triathlon on snow, essentially. It's cardio, it's a technical mechanical transition, and then it's downhill skill.
Exactly. It appeals to that endurance athlete demographic. The people who do Ironmans or ultramarathons. It's absolutely grueling. We'll see a men's sprint, a women's sprint, and a mixed relay.
The sprint sounds frantic.
It is. It's short, it's fast, and if you fumble ripping your skins off for even 2 seconds, you lose. I can already see the drama of a stuck skin costing someone a gold medal.
That's definitely going to happen. It feels very TV ready. What else is new?
Dual moguls. Now, this is a tweak to an existing sport, but it changes the psychology completely. You know moguls, the bumps, the jumps, the knee-shattering speed.
Just watching it makes my meniscus hurt. It looks incredibly painful.
Well, usually it's a solo run. You ski, you get a score from the judges, you wait. Dual moguls is head-to-head.
2 skiers at the same time.
2 skiers, side-by-side courses, racing down simultaneously.
So that adds that immediate beat the guy next to you tension. You can actually see your opponent in your peripheral vision.
It does, and it forces mistakes. If you see the other person pulling ahead, you might push too hard and blow out a turn or botch a landing. And the judging is really interesting.
How so?
The judges have 5 votes to split between the 2 skiers. So a judge might give 3 votes to the skier on the left and 2 to the right based on their form and jumps.
Well, that's simple.
It simplifies the visual for the viewer. Who won the race? Well, the one who crossed the line first usually gets the speed points. But if their technique was sloppy, they could lose the judges' votes. It's very intuitive to watch.
I like that. Instant gratification. What about speed jumping? I see women's large hill is finally here.
Finally is the right word. For years, women were restricted to the normal hill, the smaller of the 2 jumps.
How was that?
There were all these outdated, totally pseudo-scientific arguments about women's bodies not being able to handle the impact of the landing on the large hill.
Which was always ridiculous considering women were doing triple corks in snowboarding and falling 20 feet in the half pipe.
It was completely baseless, pure paternalism. So this is a huge parity milestone. Women will now fly just as far as the men. It allows for those spectacular 130-meter jumps. It's a huge moment for equality in the sport.
And speaking of equality, the notes say these are the most gender-balanced Winter Games ever. 47% female participation.
That's a record. And a big part of that comes down to these new event formats.
Like what?
We have the skeleton mixed team relay, 1 male, 1 female, you combine their times. We have luge women's doubles, replacing what used to be an open doubles event.
And a big one in cross-country skiing, right?
A huge one. For the first time, men and women will race the exact same distances in all cross-country events.
That's really interesting. Usually the women's race is significantly shorter. Like the men do the 50 kilometers and the women do a 30 kilometer.
Not anymore. If the men race 50 kilometers, the women race 50 kilometers. It's a massive statement that endurance is not gendered. The feeling is the women can suffer for just as long as the men.
It must change the strategy for the women's races completely.
Oh, absolutely. Pacing becomes even more critical over those longer distances.
I love that. Okay, let's talk star power. Because even with new sports, the Olympics runs on heroes and narratives.
It does.
And this year, we have some massive returns. The biggest headline for the North American audience has to be the NHL.
The boys are back. This is momentous. The NHL players haven't been at the Olympics since Sochi 2014.
12 years. That's a huge gap.
It's an entire generation of players. They missed Pyeongchang and Beijing due to all those disputes over insurance, travel costs, and then COVID. This turns a hockey tournament from, who's that guy event into a true best-on-best global showdown.
It's basically the Avengers assembling on ice.
It is. You just look at the rosters. Team USA has Austin Matthews. Canada has Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby.
Seeing Crosby and McDavid, 2 different generations of greatness, possibly playing together on the same line.
That's a hockey fan's absolute dream. The speed and skill level of this tournament is going to be completely off the charts. It's expected to be the most watched event of the Games, by far.
And sticking with Team USA, we have a genuine shocker. Lindsey Vonn.
At 41 years old, a grandmother in skiing years, and I say that with the utmost respect for Lindsey.
She retired. She has a titanium knee. I thought she was done doing commentary and living the retired life.
She was. But that competitive fire is a very hard thing to extinguish. She came out of retirement specifically for this.
And she already has, what, 1 gold and 2 bronzes from past games.
She does. But it hasn't been a smooth comeback. She had that nasty crash in Crans, Montana during the pre-Olympic races just recently.
That was scary to watch. But she's still aiming to start.
That's the plan. I mean, even if she just pushes out of the starting gate, it's a victory in itself.
Yeah.
But knowing Vaughn, she's not there to just participate. She wants to compete.
The big question is whether her body can hold up against 20-year-olds on that icy, injection-molded snow.
It's the ultimate test. But the narrative arc is just incredible.
And then we have the current queen of the sport, Michaela Schifrin.
The GOAT. It's not even a debate anymore. Over 100 World Cup wins. She broke Ingemar Stenmark's legendary record. She is statistically the greatest skier of all time.
But the Olympics have been tricky for her lately, right? Beijing was a real struggle.
It was. She, DNF, did not finish in multiple events where she was the favorite. And she's been open about dealing with the trauma of a crash on this Olympic course itself back in 2024.
Dealing with PTSD. It's incredibly brave of her to be so open about that.
It is. She's really bringing the mental health conversation to the forefront of elite sports. But make no mistake, when she is on, she is the best technical skier in history. If she can find her flow, she can sweep the medals.
Who else should we be watching? Give me a pick for the learner, someone they might not know yet but will be obsessed with by week 2.
Okay, I'll give you 2. First, Ilya Malinin. Figure skating. They call him the Quad God.
The Quad God. That's a strong nickname. You have to be good to pull that off.
And he is. He's 21. He is the first and only person to land all 6 types of quadruple jumps in competition. He does things in the air that physics suggests shouldn't be possible. The rotation speed is just a blur.
Yeah.
And he has this quirky little routine where he eats a chocolate bar right before he competes.
Relatable. I do that before sending a stressful email.
Very. And the second one is Jordan Stoltz, speed skating, the kid from Wisconsin.
Ah, yes, the phenom.
He is a true phenomenon. He dominates the sprints and the middle distances. He skates with a technique that is so clean and efficient, it looks effortless. He could leave Milan with a neck full of gold medals.
And we can't ignore the elephant in the room, or I guess the lack of a flag in the room, Russia and Belarus.
Right. The geopolitical context is still very heavy. The Russian and Belarusian Olympic committees are suspended due to the ongoing conflict.
So the athletes are competing as what? Individual neutral athletes?
Individual neutral athletes. AIN, no flag, no anthem. They wear these neutral, teal-colored uniforms.
We saw this in Paris for the Summer Games, but it feels different in the Winter Games, where Russia is traditionally such a powerhouse in hockey and figure skating.
It does. It changes the medal table dynamic significantly. And it creates these very awkward podium moments where a winner stands there in total silence instead of hearing an anthem. It's a somber reminder of the world outside the Olympic bubble.
On a lighter note, we do have some newcomers.
Always the best part. Debut of athletes from Benin, Guinea-Bissau, and the UAE. It's always great to see the winter sports map expanding.
Let's shift gears to the listener experience. It's Friday night, or Friday morning, depending on where you are in the world, the opening ceremony. What are we looking at?
We are looking at San Siro. The theme is Harmonia Harmony, and it's going to be a massive spectacle.
Who is performing?
The headliner is Mariah Carey.
The Queen of Christmas doing the Winter Olympics. That actually tracks perfectly. I'm assuming All I Want for Christmas Is You is off the set list, though.
We can only hope. Laura Pausini and Andrea Bocelli are also performing, so they're bringing that classic Italian vocal power.
And there's an interesting technical detail about the cauldron, isn't there?
Yeah, the dual cauldron.
2 of them.
2 of them. Because of the dual city nature of the games, they will light one at the Arco della Pace in Milan and one simultaneously in Cortina.
Connecting the 2 hubs with fire.
Exactly. It's a nice symbolic gesture to try and bridge that 250-mile gap we talked about at the start.
And for the American audience, this weekend is what NBC is calling Super Gold Sunday.
It's a marketing executive's dream come true. You have the Super Bowl 60 on Sunday, February 8th.
The biggest TV event of the year.
And immediately after the Lombardi Trophy is hoisted, NBC cuts straight to live primetime Olympic coverage. They are expecting over 100 million viewers to just roll right into it. It's going to be an intense weekend of sports consumption.
I hope everyone has their snacks ready.
Yeah.
Now we have to talk about the tech, because every Olympics claims to be the most connected ever. What's new this time?
NBC has this new AI tool called OLI.
OLI, like the name Ollie.
OLI. And it's an AI discoverability tool. The idea is you can ask it, when does Ilya Melanin skate next? Or explain the rules of curling to me like I'm 5, and it finds the info or the stream for you.
That is actually useful.
It's trying to solve the problem of having 116 events happening at once across a dozen channels.
I usually spend half my time just scrolling through menus trying to find the one sport I actually want to watch.
Exactly. And on Peacock, for the real nerds, they have Ringside Live. It's isolated camera angles, so if you just want to watch the goalie cam in hockey or a specific overhead angle in figure skating, you can. It's about giving more control to the viewer.
Okay, now, for anyone lucky enough, or maybe brave enough, to actually be going to Italy right now, we need to talk about the travel warnings, because it sounds complicated.
Travel nightmare might be a strong phrase, but it's not entirely inaccurate. First off, if you were planning to fly your private jet into Milan, don't.
Dan, I'll tell the pilot to turn around.
Linate and Malpensa airports have closed their runways to all general and business aviation. They are slot restricted. It's commercial flights or official Olympic traffic only. It's at full capacity.
And on the ground.
ZTLs, Zona a Traffico Limitato, limited traffic zones.
Italy loves these.
They love them. They are zones in historic centers where you can't drive without a resident permit. But for the games, they are everywhere. You need special permits to drive in certain zones in Milan and the mountain towns.
And if you drive a rental car into a ZTL by accident?
A camera snaps your license plate, and a very expensive fine will arrive in your mail 6 months later.
To take the train.
Take the train. But even then, getting from Milan to Cortina is a journey. It connects via bus transfers. It's not a seamless bullet train all the way to the slopes. You need to pack your patience.
And there's also a bit of a diplomatic spat happening over security.
Yeah, this just popped up in the news recently. The U.S. sent IC agents, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to Italy to assist with security for American athletes.
IC agents in Italy.
That seems
Unusual.
It caused a bit of a row. Italian politicians were asking, why are foreign law enforcement agents operating on our soil? The U.S. State Department says it's standard procedure for protecting their delegation at major events, but it definitely rubs some locals the wrong way.
Always a little drama behind the scenes.
Always.
So we're coming to the end of our dive here. We've got the two cities, the new sports, the controversies, the stoats. What is the final takeaway? What does this all mean for the future of the Games?
To me, this Olympics is a test case, a huge one. The IOC is running out of single cities that want to or can afford to host the Games alone. The white elephant era is dead.
It has to be.
So if Milano-Cortina pulls this off, if they can make a coherent, exciting event across 22,000 square kilometers, utilizing existing venues, dealing with the logistical spread, then this is the blueprint for 2030 and beyond.
The French Alps are hosting in 2030, and that's also a regional bid, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And Salt Lake City for 2034 is spread out too. So Milano-Cortina is the pioneer. If the vibe holds up across that 250-mile gap, then the decentralized Olympics works. If it feels disjointed and chaotic, the IOC has a serious problem.
It's the new Italian spirit versus logistical reality.
That's the whole ballgame. But ultimately, you know this, once the cauldron is lit on Friday, the narrative usually shifts to the athletes.
It always does.
We forget the €100 million cost of the bobsled track when we see a bobsledder winning by 100th of a second. We forget the traffic when we see a skimo athlete collapsing in exhaustion at the finish line.
That is the magic of the Games. It just overrides the cynicism.
It does, every single time.
So I have to ask you before we go, which new sport are you absolutely setting an alarm for? Skimo or dual moguls?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think I have to go with dual moguls. The judging system, the head-to-head racing, it's just going to be high-octane, brilliant TV. What about you?
I'm going with skimo. I need to see people sprinting uphill on snow. It just seems to defy the laws of nature, and I want to see how much it hurts.
It will hurt a lot. I can promise you that.
Well, there you have it. The eve of the Games, the stoats are ready, the ice is frozen, and the vibes are hopefully immaculate.
Let the games begin.
Tune in Friday for the opening ceremony. Enjoy the next 17 days of sport. Ciao.